Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Katie Zeitler, and I am the Dementia Friends Washington Program Manager. Um, I believe my co-host might be having some connectivity issues due to the recent storm. So I am just waiting to see if it would be all right if I get started. But if you would like to just put your name and um, thank you. And then your zip code in the chat. That would be great. And we will go ahead and we'll get going. All right. So welcome everyone to the Dementia Friends Information Session. Again, my name is Katie Zeitler. I manage the program in Washington State for Dementia Friends. I'll be speaking a little bit about what Dementia Friends is in just a few moments in this presentation. Um, I want to just say that I'm not a doctor, so I'm not a medical professional or a legal or financial expert. So if you do have any questions around these items, I may not be able to answer them, but I can point you in the direction of somebody that can help. So I'm happy that you all are here today. Our session today, I do ask that you hold any questions that you have until the end of the session. We'll have some time for a question and answer then. We will not be taking any breaks during the session. So if you need to get up and stretch your legs or use the restroom or get something to drink, please feel free to do what you need to do and take care of yourself. After completing this information session today, you will be able to understand and describe the following. So we're going to talk about what dementia is. We'll talk about the most common type of dementia, as well as some less common types of dementia. And we'll talk about some early signs and symptoms, some key messages to know. We'll talk about effective communication tips, ideas for ways to take action, and then as new dementia friends, everyone will commit to a small action item. And then I'm going to share some resources and support that are available. All right, let's see. I see Greg has his hand raised.
I'm just mentioning if you're sharing your screen, it's not showing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Share. Okay, is it showing up now?
I can see the welcome page.
The welcome page? Okay, let's try this one. Okay, how's that? It should be a welcome page still.
I don't see
I can
it.
see it.
I don't know why.
Okay, Allison can see it. Okay, so Greg, you're still not able to see it. I am not sure why you are not able to see it. Can other people see it? I can see it. Okay, Zoom has been having issues today for some folks, says Allison. So, okay, it seems like the majority can see it. I'm so sorry, Greg. I wish I could figure out what's going on your end. I'll try to describe the slides as I'm going through them, and hopefully that will be helpful. All right. So to get started, I have a question for everyone. I'm curious, what is the first word that comes to mind when you hear the word dementia? Or it could be a short phrase. And feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type it in the chat. We'll take just about a minute or two to do this. So just love to hear what comes to mind. Forgetful, memory loss, elderly. I'm just reading these out of the chat. Confusion and memory loss, loss of self, Alzheimer's, lost, cognitive impairment, frustration, confusion, anger, caregiver stress, Alzheimer's, sad. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. Of the words that were listed, and you can go back and review them in the chat also, would you say that the majority of these words are negative or positive? Negative, negative. Yeah, yeah. they're negative. So one of the things that we're aiming to talk about with Dementia Friends is we want people to feel more comfortable talking about dementia. And there are a lot of negative words that are used, and that's not to shame anybody or make anybody feel bad. It's just, how we've been kind of talking about the disease and the condition up until this point. So one of our goals is to reduce the stigma around the word dementia. All right, so next I'm going to talk about what is dementia. So dementia is not a specific disease. It's an umbrella term that covers many symptoms associated with a decline in memory or other thinking skills severe enough to reduce a person's ability to perform everyday tasks. So a lot of people, when they think of the word dementia or Alzheimer's, they just think of memory loss, but it's a lot more than the memory loss. So on the right side of the screen, there is an infographic that has two circles. There is a larger circle with a smaller circle overlapping it. Within the larger circle, there are the words Alzheimer's disease. And this is just to show that Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia. So it accounts for about 60 to 80% of cases. And then within that smaller bubble are some less common types of dementia. These are not the only types of dementia that exist. There are more past this, but there's Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal dementia, which has 3 subsets, vascular dementia, and then more. And then there can be an overlap of these types of dementias. So there could be vascular Alzheimer's dementia, for example. All right. So then what is Dementia Friends? So the goal of Dementia Friends is to increase awareness and understanding about dementia and to reduce the stigma surrounding it. So the original program was actually developed in Japan. It was a government program that had a goal of increasing awareness about dementia within Japan. The Alzheimer's Society in the UK basically adapted the program into what we are now calling Dementia Friends. It's become a global movement, changing the way people think, act, and talk about dementia. And it's been underway in the United States for several years. So in Washington State, we've had the Dementia Friends program since 2018. We had a pilot study done from 2018 to 2019. We had 15 champions, which are volunteers, trained to go out and deliver these information sessions out in the community. We had over 200 people join these sessions. And then there was a statistically significant result that was shown from the pilot study that basically showed people who attended a Dementia Friends information session had an increased awareness about dementia and felt more comfortable talking about dementia. So we're funded in Washington State through the state. We are supported through the work of the Dementia Action Collaborative, and the state lead for the program is the University of Washington Memory and Brain Wellness Center. So the goals of a Dementia Friends information session, talking about 5 key messages, which we'll be going over shortly, looking at how dementia affects people, and then learning how we can each make a difference. So we believe that people with dementia deserve to be a part of the community and deserve to be supported within the community. Washington State recently received designation to be both an age-friendly state and a dementia-friendly state. So we're working on rolling out the concept of dementia-friendly communities within the state. Just to do a brief overview of this, so Dementia Friends fits into the concept of dementia-friendly communities. Dementia Friends have awareness about dementia and help to foster these communities. So we're looking at the different sectors within the community that can become dementia-friendly. There's emergency planning and first response, independent living and community engagement, businesses and employers. And an example there could be a restaurant wanting to become dementia friendly. They could make a menu that has 3 items on it, and instead of 100 different options, and that would be easier for somebody to look through and be able to choose an option. There's care throughout the continuum, memory loss supports and services, legal and financial planning services, faith communities, churches, banking institutions, looking at transportation, housing, and public spaces, and then just general awareness with neighbors and community members. So Dementia Friendly America has ideas and sector guides for each of these areas to make these spaces more dementia friendly. All right, so next we're going to look at typical aging versus aging with Alzheimer's disease. So most people know that they experience physical changes as they age. They may now wear glasses, have graying hair, and feel stiff when they get up in the morning. We also may experience some cognitive or thinking skill changes as we age and may find that we don't remember names as easily or that we may have trouble concentrating in busy settings. So we're going to go over some 10 signs and symptoms of that there might be something significant going on. So our first sign is memory loss that disrupts daily life. So common signs of Alzheimer's include memory loss, so especially forgetting recently learned information, forgetting important dates or events, asking for the same information over and over, relying on memory aids or family members for things that the person used to handle on their own. So what's typical with normal aging is sometimes forgetting names or appointments, but then recalling them later. The second sign is challenges in planning or solving problems. So some people may experience changes in their ability to develop or follow a plan or to work with numbers. They may have trouble following a familiar recipe or keeping track of monthly bills. They may have difficulty concentrating and take much longer to do the things than they did before. So what's typical with normal aging is occasionally making errors when balancing a checkbook. The third sign is difficulty completing familiar tasks at home, at work, or at leisure. So people with Alzheimer's often find it hard to complete daily tasks. Sometimes people may have trouble driving to a familiar location, managing a budget at work, or remembering the rules of a favorite game. So what's typical with normal aging is on occasion needing help to use the settings on a microwave or to record a television show. And I'd just like to add here that that's kind of regarding a TV or a microwave that the person has had for years, not, a brand new TV or a microwave. The fourth sign is confusion with time or place. So people with Alzheimer's can lose track of dates, seasons, and the passage of time. They may have trouble understanding something if it's not happening immediately, and sometimes they may forget where they are or how they got there. So what's typical with normal aging is getting confused about the day of the week, but recalling it later. All right, and our fifth sign is trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. So for some people, having vision problems is a sign of Alzheimer's. They may have difficulty reading, judging distance, and determining color or contrast, which may cause problems with things like driving. And then what's typical with normal aging is having vision changes related to cataracts. Our sixth sign is new problems with words in speaking or writing. So people with Alzheimer's may have trouble following or joining a conversation. They may stop in the middle of a conversation and have no idea how to continue, or they may repeat themselves. They may struggle with vocabulary and have problems finding the right word or call things by the wrong name. So let's say normally I have my watch on, but I don't have my watch on today. But if I did have it on, let's say the person's trying to recall the name for that and they use the words hand clock, which is not wrong. It's just not the typical word that we use to describe a watch. So sometimes as a caregiver or a care partner, you have to kind of play a little bit of investigatory work, I guess, into what they may be referring to. So what's typical with normal aging is sometimes having trouble finding the right word. The seventh sign is misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps. So a person with Alzheimer's disease may put things in unusual places, and they may lose things and be unable to go back over their steps to find them again. Sometimes they may accuse others of stealing, and this may occur more frequently over time. So what's typical with normal aging is misplacing things from time to time, such as a pair of glasses or the remote control, and then retracing steps to find them. The eighth sign is decreased or poor judgment. So people with Alzheimer's may experience changes in judgment or decision making. For example, they may use poor judgment when dealing with money, giving large amounts to telemarketers, which is unfortunately a very big problem. Or they may pay less attention to grooming or keeping themselves clean. Then what's typical with normal aging is making a bad decision once in a while. The ninth sign is withdrawal from work or social activities. So a person with Alzheimer's may start to remove themselves from hobbies, social activities, work projects, or sports. They may have trouble keeping up with a favorite sports team or remembering how to complete a favorite hobby. They may also avoid being social because of the changes they have experienced. And then what's typical with normal aging, sometimes feeling weary of work, family, and social obligations. And then our 10th sign is changes in mood and personality. So the mood and personalities of people with Alzheimer's can change. They can become confused, suspicious, depressed, fearful, or anxious. They may be easily upset at home, at work, with friends, or in places where they're outside of their comfort zone. And then what's typical with normal aging is developing very specific ways of doing things and then becoming irritable when a routine is disrupted. All right, so next I have a video to share. This is about a 6-minute video. It will be talking about our 5 key messages. And each person who is in this video that we'll be sharing is living with some type of dementia. So let me go ahead and get this pulled up. It's a wonderful video. And then we'll talk about the key messages afterwards. All right. So, apologies for that. Okay. And then please let me know if you're not able to hear the video. Can you all hear it?
I found myself saying something or trying to say something and then I realized that the word didn't even fit in that I said or something like that. So I just kept, thinking about it, and it didn't happen every day. It didn't happen, hardly at all. And then it just kept getting a little bit worse and a little bit worse.
I think some of the family members thought something was off, I guess. Did any of them think dementia? Probably not.
When you're used to doing things and doing it right and doing it, and all of a sudden, you can't remember this, and you can't, what is your name, and it's like a dark area. It's just like being in darkness,
And I think everybody that with this disease, people walk away from them. They're afraid they're going to catch it, like measles or mumps. And that bothers me that they do that.
I have to be aware that any moment my brain might not tell me where to go.
My first reaction was that I'm going to beat this disease.
I can't spell anything like I used to be able to just spell, you just write a check. Now I'm not clear what the thing is how you do it or anything. All that stuff that I thought I was so good at is gone, or on the way gone.
Remembering names. I think that's the biggest issue with me.
People sometimes would kind of look at you kind of strange because I'm not saying what they want me to say or talk the way they want me to talk.
When I started putting my shirts on backwards, that was one of my early signs too.
Walking, that's why I have a cane now, and because I have a tendency to rock sideways, and I don't want to trip or fall.
Darkness is not good for me, and I tend to trip or fall, and my coordination isn't as it used to be.
Oh, I don't cook anymore either, because when I cook, and it doesn't matter if someone's in the house or not, I just start cooking and I forget about using, what do you use when you cook? What? Stove. The stove. I forget every time to turn it off. Every time I've cooked, no matter who's there.
Right now, like I'm doing really good because I have someone that takes care of me really good, you know.
Be active in the community still. Go to yoga, do things like that. Don't do it so well, but that's okay.
Staying active, even a little bit active, keeps you interested.
And I like to be around people.
When people would struggle, I'd go over and help them. And I found it very uplifting to help other people.
You know, you can't deny this disease. If you deny it, you're going to get in trouble.
The singing is very, very good to the brain. We know that. And the more we can do that, the better off we'll be.
People that have dementia, I think, are very unique. And I think they have a lot to offer still.
It's an attitude here. You have to get up in the morning and say, okay, I got to do this today. Even if it's just one thing.
I can say to a person that it's going to be all right. And I can say to a person that depend on God. Because with God, everything is possible.
I'm not ashamed of it. And nobody should be. I mean, I had cancer. Was I ashamed of having cancer? No. Why would I be? You know? Why should I be ashamed of having dementia?
I've lasted 14 years with this disease. It's not going to go away. I accept that. Only thing I guess with my future is that I'll work as hard as I can to stay alive and function.
All right. Thank you for watching that video. I thank you for all of the comments. It is a powerful video. Thank you, Wendy, inspiring and hopeful. Tiana shared a great video. Personal testimonies really help to humanize the issue. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so next we're going to be doing an activity together as a group. This is our broken sentences activity, and basically we're going to be looking at the key messages that were just shared in the video, and we're going to be matching the key messages, the first part of the key message in column 1 to its match in column 2. So I'll start just as an example. So dementia is not, and then the match to that, looking at column 2, would be a normal part of aging. Not everyone who grows old will develop dementia. And that's just to speak to that a little bit more. So it's true that dementia is more common among people who are over 65. However, not everyone who grows old will develop dementia. It's not a typical path when you're aging. But some of us may become more forgetful as we get older or during times of stress or illness. But dementia is a different type of forgetfulness. So memory loss will be more noticeable and may be accompanied by mood changes and confusion. It's important to ask a doctor to check out any unusual symptoms because they may be treatable. So that's our first key message. So dementia is not a normal part of aging. So I'd love it as a group for our second key message, if you would like to write in the chat or unmute yourself and just say what the match is. So second key message, dementia is caused by, and then what would be a good match for that in column 2? A, yes. Perfect. So dementia is caused by A, diseases of the brain. So dementia is the name for a collection of symptoms that includes memory loss, mood changes, and problems with communication and reasoning. These symptoms are brought about by a number of diseases that can cause changes in the brain. So as we discussed, the most common is Alzheimer's disease, and Alzheimer's changes the chemistry and structure of the brain, causing brain cells to die off. All right, so our third key message, dementia is not just, and then what would be a good match for that? E, yes. So dementia is not just about having memory problems. It can affect thinking, communication, and doing everyday tasks. So people often think of dementia as a form of memory loss. And although memory loss is often one of the first signs of dementia, especially with Alzheimer's disease, it's much more than that. Dementia can affect the way people think, speak, and do things. Dementia makes it harder to plan and learn new activities and interferes with structured tasks like writing. It can also make it harder to communicate. However, there is much that can be done to help, and every year we understand more about dementia and develop new strategies that can help to boost someone's confidence and maintain their independence for as long as possible. All right, our fourth key message, it's possible to have what would be a good match? Yes, C. It's possible to have a good quality of life with dementia. So most of us have an image in our mind of what life with dementia looks like, and that image is often very bleak. So it can be very surprising to learn that many people with dementia in their early stages, maybe to mid stages, can continue to drive, they can socialize, and hold down satisfying jobs. Even as dementia progresses, many people lead active and healthy lives, can continue their hobbies, and enjoy loving friendships and relationships. Of course, dementia does make it harder to do certain things, but with the right support and know-how, it's possible for someone with dementia to continue to get the very best out of life. All right, and then our last key message, there's more to the person than, and what would be a good match to that? See, lots of D's, yes. So there's more to the person than the dementia. People with dementia are a valuable part of the community. So in the same way that we would look at someone with diabetes or cancer and see them as a person first, people living with dementia are also a person first. So at the end of our session today, I'm going to ask all of you to think about an action item that you would like to choose. And I just want to plant the seed now. So just some ideas. So it could be, being more patient when you're out in public. If you know somebody in your community that has dementia or whose family member has dementia, you could ask if there's anything you could do to help, like maybe cook with them or just simply visit. That goes such a long ways. Or you could tell somebody about what you learned about today and encourage them to become a dementia friend. All right, so now we're going to move on. So as noted before, dementia is caused by a disease that damages brain cells. So we're going to look at our book case story. So this damage interferes with how brain cells communicate with each other. When brain cells cannot communicate, a person's thinking, behavior, and feelings can all be affected. So the brain has many different areas, and each one is responsible for different functions. For example, memory, judgments, and movements. When cells in an area of the brain are damaged, that area cannot function efficiently. So I'm going to read a story to you, and the story is a good way to illustrate how dementia might affect a person, and it's not a scientific explanation. So on the screen, we have an image of two bookcases. There's a bookcase on the left that is filled with books. That's our bookcase representing a healthy brain. On the right is a bookcase that doesn't have any books on the first shelf, and then as the shelves go down to the bottom, there are different amounts of books on those shelves. So this bookcase is representing what's happening to the brain as dementia progresses. So the books on the top shelves are for facts and complex thinking, and then on the bottom shelves are emotions, love, and happiness. So I'm going to read the story to you now, and then we'll kind of talk about it a little bit. So everyone's brain is affected differently by dementia. For right now, let's imagine a 70-year-old woman who has dementia. Now imagine there is a full bookcase beside her. Each book inside the bookcase represents one of her skills or memories. On the top shelves are her memories of facts and her skill for thinking in complex or complicated ways. For people with dementia, the top or outer part of the brain is damaged first. Skills like math, using language, and keeping one's behavior in check are in this part of the brain. In our bookcase story, these skills are also books on the top shelves. When dementia rocks the woman's bookcase, the books on the top shelf begin to fall out. The woman may not remember what she ate for breakfast, or that she has to pay for items at the drugstore, or that someone came to visit this morning. Emotions and feelings are lower down within the bookcase, just like they are in the lower or inner part of the brain. This is the instinct area of the brain. Feelings like love, happiness, frustration, and sensing respect reside here. As dementia continues to rock her bookcase, the books on these lower shelves stay for a much longer time. The bookcase story helps explain different thinking skills and memories and the effects of dementia. Facts and complex thinking will fall away quickly, and emotions and feelings will remain for longer. So let's return to the 70-year-old woman with dementia for a real-life example of this bookcase story. So let's say her daughter comes to visit that morning and they have a really great conversation with each other. It's filled with love and joy and happiness. And later on, the woman is thinking about that conversation and she's not able to recall the specifics of the conversation, but she can remember that she felt good and happy and had a lot of positive feelings about that interaction. Similarly, let's say the daughter came to visit her mother and they had an argument, and there was a lot of negative energy within that argument. So the mother later on may not be able to remember exactly what they argued about, specifically the words, but she will remember feeling, anger and frustration and hurt. So as her dementia continues, the woman might lose other thinking skills. She may no longer be able to manage her finances, complete activities she once enjoyed, or communicate with family and friends. Dementia affects each person differently. So remember, dementia also affects the factual and emotional parts of the brain differently. So the top part that manages facts like faces, names, dates, places, that's affected first. The facts are easily forgotten. The lower part that manages emotions is affected later, so feelings and emotions aren't lost as quickly as facts. The brain stores both recent and past memories, and for people with dementia, the most recent memories are lost first, and memories from earlier in life are remembered for longer. Other thinking skills are also affected by dementia, including planning, judgment, and communication. We'll talk about communication in just a few moments, but just to kind of touch on planning and judgment. So as we know, planning is the skill that we use to carry out everyday activities. So someone may not be able to recall their favorite recipe that they've made for years and years, or remember how to use the lawnmower or snowblower for their yard work. Judgment is the skill that we use to keep ourselves safe or to interact with others. So a person with dementia may give money to anyone who calls and asks for a donation, or they may loudly criticize somebody in public. And again, in just a few moments, we'll talk about the communication piece, but I wanted to show this side-by-side comparison of a healthy brain and a brain with advanced Alzheimer's. And I'm curious, you can unmute yourself, or you can write in the chat, what are just a few differences you're seeing between these two brains? It's much smaller on the right. Shrinkage. There's some dark areas. Alzheimer's brain has more tunnels. The size, the texture, the gaps. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So yes, the brain has gotten smaller with advanced Alzheimer's. There's more holes or lesions, and there's a change in the coloring. Thank you. All right, so next we're going to do another really fun activity with each other. So this is our everyday task activity. So as we just learned, planning is a skill that we use to carry out everyday activities. So next we're going to work, we're actually going to do this independently and then come back as a group. We're going to choose an everyday task collectively as our whole group. So it could be something like brushing our teeth, making a sandwich, making a cup of coffee, doing laundry, something that we do every day. And then we're going to create our own list of this everyday task. So the first step involved, all the steps in the middle, and then the last step involved. And then we'll reconvene in just a few minutes, and then we'll share our list. So as a group, and you can write in the chat, would you like to do brushing teeth, making a sandwich, making coffee, or is there another everyday task? What sounds good to everyone? Brushing teeth? Okay, I see 3 for brushing teeth. That sound good? We'll do that one. So I'd love it if you could take just a few minutes, and if you have a piece of paper next to you, or maybe your notepad on your phone, if you just want to write down the steps that are involved with brushing your teeth. So think about that first step, all the steps in the middle, and then what your last step is. And then let's take just a few minutes to do this. So it's 12:12 right now, so we'll reconvene at about 12:15, and then we'll share our list. So go ahead and take a few minutes to write down some of your thoughts about brushing teeth. All right, so it is 12:15. I'm curious, let's go ahead and wrap up our list. Who would like to share how many steps they had in their list? And feel free to write in the chat. 13, 8, 7, 9, 12, 7, 8, 8. All right. Great. And then who would like to share their first step? You can write in the chat your first step. All right, so some of our first steps are relocate to the bathroom. Someone said go to the bathroom. Another person said find the toothbrush and toothpaste. Another person shared go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. Another person shared choosing the correct brush out of everyone's. That's important. Sharon shared gather the brush head, Sonicare, and toothpaste. All right, great. And then would anybody like to unmute themselves and share their entire list? I don't want to have to make you type it all out, but I'd love it if somebody would like to share their complete list.
Hi, my name's Irene. I'm happy to do it if I'm the first one.
All right, that sounds great, Irene. Thank you.
Okay, I'm the one that had 13 steps. So mine was go to the bathroom, pick up toothbrush, pick up toothpaste, wet toothbrush, add toothpaste, put cap back on toothpaste, put down toothpaste, put toothbrush in mouth, then turn on. Although I also wet after I put the toothpaste on. So like moist brush. And then move brush around mouth until done. Remove from mouth, spit, mouth, rinse toothbrush, put away toothbrush. Turn off water. I forgot that one.
Oh, thank you for adding it. All right, thank you, Irene. Would you all like to write in the chat what your last steps were? I like to hear what other people's last steps were too. Put away toothbrush and toothpaste. Put toothpaste away. Rinse toothbrush and put away. Wipe down the counter and the sink. Put toothbrush away. Put away brush, Sonicare, and paste. Also shut the water off. Put the brush back in the holder. Yes, okay, these are all great. So I appreciate everybody sharing. Do you think that you could combine different actions together, or could you break them down further? Break down further. Yeah, would anybody like to share an example of one of their steps that they wrote that could be broken down into smaller steps?
I'm happy to share.
Okay, yes, please.
Yeah, so after Irene spoke, I realized I'd missed a few details because some of them are just second nature for many of us. And like simply grabbing the toothpaste and putting it on the toothbrush, I didn't think about that. And then screwing on the toothbrush cap again, and also like the task of turning on the water to wet your toothbrush and turning it off. So there are so many like little details that you just kind of forget. But for some folks, like they have to think very intentionally about those.
Yeah, thank you, Tiana. Yeah, so I think that to Tiana's point, there's some things that we do that we don't even really think about doing when we're doing them. There can be multiple steps involved with each of these larger steps, and some of it's muscle memory. So it could be easy to miss steps when we're actually writing out a list of all of the steps that are involved with brushing our teeth. And we could keep breaking these steps down into smaller and smaller steps. So when I think about, even initiating brushing teeth, you would need to know what time of the day it is maybe, or maybe you've just had something to eat. You want to break down, or I'm sorry, you want to go and brush your teeth afterwards. So you would need to know where the bathroom is that you want to brush your teeth, how to get to the bathroom. You would want to maybe turn on the lights. So you have to know where the light switch is, and then locate all of the, your toothbrush, make sure that you can identify that it's a toothbrush and maybe not a hairbrush. So there's a lot of things to consider when doing an everyday task like brushing teeth. So when you think about functions that are controlled by the brain, and this isn't meant to be a trick question, what is required to complete the task of brushing teeth? What functions of the brain are required for this task? planning, fine motor skills. Mm. Object identification. Yeah. Ability to follow steps in order, so knowing what sequence to go in. Organization. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, these are some great comments. Thank you. So other functions could be breathing, heart function, movement, vision, hearing. We talked about coordination, sequencing, and memory of what words mean. Excuse me. All right. Well, thank you everyone for participating in that activity. I think this activity is helpful just because most people can take these simple everyday tasks for granted, but when you actually break the task down, it can become really complex. So something like brushing teeth can be broken down into so many smaller steps. And we each perform hundreds of these tiny steps every day to make something happen. So for somebody with dementia who has problems with planning, decision making, communicating, and remembering, any single one of these steps can become challenging. So with supports, it's possible for someone with dementia to continue to perform these everyday tasks. So what are some ways that we could be supportive for somebody who has dementia when it comes to brushing teeth? And feel free to, unmute yourself or write your thoughts in the chat. What are ways that we could be supportive with brushing teeth? Write a list. That can be helpful. Put photos in the list. Photos with steps. Label the toothbrush with colorful tape. I like that idea. Yeah. There's a lot of prompting. So a list, photo prompts, labels that can help with prompting. Declutter. That's great. Yeah. Just make it, remove all the stuff that doesn't need to be there. So, the toothbrush and toothpaste are standing out. Leaving needed items in eyesight. That can help with prompting. Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your ideas. So when we identify the steps a person is struggling with and help them with that step, we not only can empower them, but we help them remain independent. So these are both really wonderful confidence building things, and people love to still be able to do things on their own and should be able to as much as they're able. All right, so thank you. Thank you for all of your comments and for participating. All right, so next we're going to move on and talk about communication. So the ability to exchange ideas, wishes, and feelings is a basic need. Communication with a person with dementia requires patience, understanding, and good listening skills. So when we talked about the bookcase story, we talked about how a person might feel as the changes with dementia continue to affect thinking. One of the skills that may be greatly changed is the ability to communicate, both expressing needs and understanding what others are asking. So as we now talk about communication, keep in mind how the person might feel. So changes in the ability to communicate are unique to each person with Alzheimer's and can include using familiar words repeatedly, inventing new words for familiar objects, easily losing his or her train of thought, reverting to a first or birth language, and having difficulty organizing words logically. Ongoing communication is important, no matter how difficult it may become or how confused the person with Alzheimer's or dementia may appear. So you might notice that the person is more easily confused. They might not respond to what you're saying or asking, or they may respond by pushing you away, crying, or making sounds. And not that any of this is okay, but it could be a way that they are trying to communicate with you. And so we often call these responses behaviors. But again, often they're just simply that form of communication. So let's say the person has shoulder pain and they're no longer able to communicate to you that their shoulders really hurt, that they're having a lot of pain there. And you go in and you're trying to help them get dressed for the day. You have them reach their arms up over their head so you can slide their sweatshirt on, and their response to you is to push you away. And they may be responding by pushing you away because their shoulders hurt and they want to let you know, but they're not able to verbally say it. Another example would be, let's say you're in a space with someone that has dementia, and that space has a lot of people, a lot of noise, a lot of quick movements, maybe some flashing lights, and the person is feeling very overstimulated. Their response may be to just start crying. Maybe they can't tell you they want to leave, they're just going to start crying. So these are just a couple of examples of behaviors. If you're interested in learning more, there's a lot to learn about this part of communication, but just wanted to briefly touch on it in this information session. All right, so we're going to talk about some communication tips next. So use the following tips when communicating with a person who has dementia. So we want to treat the person with dignity and respect and avoid talking past the person as if he or she isn't there. We want to be aware of our feelings. So your tone of voice may communicate your attitude. So we want to use positive and friendly facial expressions. We want to be patient and supportive. So let the person know that you are listening and that you're trying to understand. Show that you care about what he or she is saying and be careful not to interrupt. People with dementia may have difficulty communicating if we move or we talk too quickly. It may take the person up to 20 seconds to take in what you have said and then get a response back out. So we're going to time 20 seconds right now to see how that would feel to wait for a response from somebody. So I'm going to hit my stopwatch. I'm going to time 20 seconds and I'll let you know when the 20 seconds is up. So I'm starting it now. All right, so that was 20 seconds. I'm curious, how did it feel to have to wait 20 seconds for a response? Uncomfortable, a little uncomfortable. Long, yeah, frustrating. It almost felt like you were ignoring us. Oh, sorry. Impatient. The quiet is weird. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for your responses. It can be all those feelings are completely valid. You know, we're so used to speaking quickly, asking multiple things at once. We're all going really fast usually with our days and our conversations. So it can be hard to just pull back and wait for a response. But it is important to remember when communicating with someone who has dementia that they are trying to go as fast as they can. They are trying to process what you've said and to find a response to get back out to you. I had an individual who attended one of these sessions earlier this year, and his wife has dementia. And he came up to me a few weeks later at a resource fair, and he said this, he didn't know this beforehand about this processing time. And he let me know that it's has helped him be more patient with his wife, and it takes his wife about 25 seconds to respond. So I think it's a good starting point and something to think about. But it totally makes sense to have all these feelings of, frustration. This is long. This is giving me anxiety. I feel uncomfortable. But it can help improve communication and then maybe help, to bring about some patience. If you know that someone's trying to process everything, they're doing their best. So just being there to support them in that way is great. All right, so next we're going to talk about some tips for if somebody is having trouble communicating. So we want to offer comfort and reassurance. So reassure them that it's okay and encourage the person to continue. We want to avoid criticizing or correcting. So don't tell the person what he or she is saying is incorrect. Instead, listen and try to find the meaning in what is being said. We want to avoid arguing. So if the person says something you don't agree with, just let it be. Arguing usually only makes things worse and often increases agitation for the person who has dementia. You can offer a guess. So if the person uses the wrong word or cannot find a word, you can try guessing the right word. If you understand what the person means, finding the right word may not even be necessary. And then encouraging nonverbal communication. So if you don't understand what is being said, you can ask the person to point or to gesture. All right, and then here are some conversation tips for at the beginning of a conversation. So you want to approach from the front. You want to identify yourself. And if you happen to be interacting with someone that you know is having a hard time remembering your name, this has been such a helpful tip for me, but going into that first part of the conversation by saying, "Hi, Mom, it's me, Katie. I'm here to see you today. I love you so much. It's so good to see you." And my mom may respond by saying, "Oh, I know your name is Katie." But having known that she was, having difficulty remembering my name every other time I had seen her recently, I know that I'm saving her the embarrassment. So that's a helpful tip. We want to keep good eye contact. If the person is seated, maybe go sit down next to them. Call the person by their preferred name. We want to use short and simple phrases and speak slowly and clearly, using a gentle and relaxed tone. And then again, patiently waiting for that response. Here are some tips for during a conversation. So you want to provide a statement rather than asking a question. So instead of saying, "Do you need to go to the bathroom?" you can say, "Here is the bathroom." You want to name an object or a place to avoid confusion or vagueness. So instead of saying, "This is it," I would say, "This is my pen." You want to turn negatives into positives. This can help with redirecting somebody. So let's say somebody's trying to leave, they're confused, they want to go outside and look for their car that's not there. If they're headed towards the door, you can walk up next to them, and instead of saying, "Don't go there," you can say, "Let's go over this way. Let's go to the kitchen." So just turning something positive or turning something negative into a positive. You want to give visual cues, so like prompting, that's great, using those prompts as reminders for those everyday activities. And then we want to avoid quizzing. So reminiscing is very healthy. It's a wonderful thing to do. Turning on someone's favorite music is a great way to reminisce. We just want to avoid asking questions like, "Do you remember this person's name?" or "Do you remember when this happened?" All right. And then to review our 5 key messages. So our first key message is dementia is not a normal part of aging. Our second key message is dementia is caused by diseases of the brain. Our third key message, dementia is not just about having memory problems. It can affect thinking, communication, and doing everyday tasks. Our fourth key message, it's possible to have a good quality of life with dementia. And then our fifth key message, there's more to the person than the dementia. People with dementia are a valuable part of our community. All right. So you all are now Dementia Friends, and as new Dementia Friends, we encourage everyone to choose an action item. So I encourage you, we'll take just a few minutes, look through this list. I'll read everything out loud. And then if you would like to write in the chat or unmute yourself after I'm done reading the list and just share what your action item is, we'd love to hear it. Don't feel any pressure to choose something now, but if something is really speaking to you and you'd like to share, it would be great to hear your action item. So as a Dementia Friend, I will, and here are the action items you can choose from, or you can choose something else. So you can get in touch and stay in touch with someone who's living with dementia. You can support dementia-friendly efforts in the community, start a dementia-friendly effort in your community, volunteer for an organization that helps people with dementia, You can campaign for change. You can participate in a local advocacy events. Encourage your friends to become Dementia Friends. Or if you love public speaking and want to volunteer with Dementia Friends, we'd love for you to join as a volunteer. We can train you how to lead these sessions. You can carry out a personal action, like being more patient when you're out in the community. You can volunteer to participate in a clinical trial, adopt one or more dementia-friendly practices in your personal or professional life, and you can ask your doctor for a cognitive assessment during a physical exam or something else. So I'll give you a moment just to kind of think about these action items. And I'd love to hear if anything's really speaking to you right now. You can write it in the chat or unmute yourself. Support dementia-friendly efforts in my community. Thank you, Tiana. And Sharon says, encourage other people, especially people surrounding my dad, to become dementia friends. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Sharon. Encourage my friends to become a dementia friend. Thank you, Jacob. Spend time with relatives that have dementia. Thank you, Rita. So Raman, adopt one or more dementia-friendly practices in my personal life. Thank you. That's great. Catherine, share this video with my stepfather so we understand what's going on with my mom and how we can help her. Vibha, encourage friends to become dementia friends. Great. Well, I appreciate everyone sharing their action items. Please feel free to continue to write in the chat if you'd like. I am going to move forward to talk about some of our resources. So at the end of our information sessions, we do share resources that are available. We share national, state, and local level resources. One of the things that will be sent out is the workbook for this presentation. So within that workbook, some of these resources are listed. I can also add them in an email because I don't think every single one is in the workbook, but I just wanted to go over them. So the first resource, Dementia Friendly America. So on this website, so Dementia Friends is part of Dementia Friendly America. There's support to become a dementia friendly community. As I mentioned earlier, Washington State is now a dementia friendly state. So we are working on building dementia friendly communities around the state. But on this website, you can find sector guides to make your sector more dementia friendly. So some great resources on there. I wanted to share about Momentia. So for those of you who are interested in getting involved with the dementia friendly events or efforts, I do recommend checking out Momentia. It's a grassroots movement in the Puget Sound area. And basically, if you go to this website and it's updated all the time, there are different dementia-friendly events happening around the area, such as memory cafes, which are a great social opportunity for people who are living with dementia and their caregivers and care partners to kind of come together, have an opportunity to socialize, not talk about dementia, and just be in a safe and supportive space. There's also zoo walks, nature walks, art activities. There's a whole bunch of things on this website. So you're welcome to go and check it out. I invite you to. If anything speaks to you and you'd like to get involved, you could reach out to the person who's hosting the event, or you could start your own event in your own area if you're seeing that there isn't one in your area. I'm a part of the University of Washington's Memory and Brain Wellness Center. There are 3 different prongs to the Memory and Brain Wellness Center. We have a memory clinic, we have an NIH-funded Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, and then we have what's called the Memory Hub, which is basically A wonderful collaborative space. We have a lot of different dementia-friendly events happening there. We have this beautiful garden. It's a sensory garden, and it's just everything in the garden is non-toxic. And we do some events with Seattle Parks and Rec and with Elderwise, which is a respite program within the garden. So it's just a great opportunity to be outside and having a sensory experience. And we have different education events and support groups there as well. The Alzheimer's Association, a lot of great resources. The Washington State chapter has different education events. They do care consultations. They're partnering with Ripple. I won't go too much into that, but basically it's a very comprehensive care path for someone who has just been diagnosed with dementia. What do they do next? How can a care team get involved? What support can they receive? There's advocacy work being done. There's research. They have support groups also. They have a list of support groups, both virtual and in person. They also have a 24/7 helpline, and the phone number is on there. There's Community Living Connections, which offers connection to community resources and services. Typically, this is through an area agency on aging, which is going to differ from county to county or within a specific region. But they offer a bunch of different services and help, like mental health support, caregiver support, nutrition support, transportation support, and so much more. Some more resources. So the International Association for Indigenous Aging has the American Indian and Alaska Native adaptation for Dementia Friends. They also do a lot of work with brain health and have a bunch of wonderful resources for brain health on the website. They have this really neat interactive tool on the website called Dementia Rooms. I highly recommend checking this out. Their Dementia Rooms interactive website component shows you, like within different spaces, how you can make them safer for somebody who has dementia. So it's a really great tool. There's Kinon, which offers care and support for Asian elders and their families. They've actually started a memory cafe over in Bellevue. At the Memory Hub, they do Tai Chi and karaoke, as well as community education. There's Gen Pride. Gen Pride advocates for Seattle and King County older LGBTQIA+ adults, unique needs through different programs and services that cultivate well-being and belonging. There's SAGE, which is advocacy for LGBTQ+ elders. There's for intellectual and developmental disabilities. So, for example, with somebody who has Down syndrome, there's a protein on the extra chromosome that makes them more susceptible to Alzheimer's. So there is, we have an IDD adaptation of our Dementia Friends materials for this particular group. There's the National Task Group on Intellectual Disabilities and Dementia Practices that has a ton of education and information if you're interested. I'm quickly going through these, I'm so sorry. Then we've got some Hispanic Latinx education resources through the Alzheimer's Association. The Alzheimer's Los Angeles organization has an incredible YouTube channel with so many helpful videos. I really recommend checking out all the amazing work they've been doing. The Washington Department of Health has some educational resources. The African American and Black elders education resources include the Legacy of Love Forum, which is an annual forum. It was just held at the beginning of November. There's Memory Sunday. Catholic Community Services has an African American Elders program. The DOH in Washington, again, has a bunch of educational resources. I wanted to add Alter's resource in here. Alter is down in Georgia. They create dementia-friendly congregations, and I'm so inspired by their work. So I do recommend checking them out if you're interested in faith communities and dementia. All right, and then just this is my last page of resources. So we have Project Echo Dementia. This is for providers. And it's basically, it's a learning model, and they do a 15-minute didactic. So if you're interested in this and you're a provider, there's a form that you can complete on the website. There's our state plan for addressing Alzheimer's and other dementias. There's lots of respite programs out in the area. If you're a caregiver looking for respite, The Dementia Roadmap is a wonderful tool that looks at, everything from if you're wondering and worried about dementia to what mild cognitive impairment is to what early, mid, and advanced dementia looks like. There's checklists in each section. This is available in English, Spanish, and Russian. There's a dementia legal planning toolkit that's available through the Pro Bono Council in Washington. They offer free legal planning services for anybody 60 and older and anybody at any age living with any type of dementia. Dementia safety kits, also available through DSHS. That just looks at how to create safer spaces at home and some other things to think about. And then I put 988 on here as a resource. Caregiving, if you are a caregiver, if you've been recently diagnosed with dementia, these are very stressful situations. And if you are feeling, any kind of emotional crisis, this is an option to reach out to. All right, so those are our resources. I would really love it if we could do a quick photo. If you could take yourself off or I guess if you can show your face, that would be wonderful in your video. And then I will do a screenshot. So I'll give everybody just a second to get ready. And I'm going to stop sharing that screen for a second. All right. And then while I'm getting this set up, does anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Sharon. All righty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my clipping tool. We're going to take the photo in just a few seconds. If you see there's a few more people that haven't all these faces. Alrighty. So I'm going to count to 3, and then on 3, I'll take the video or I'll take the photo. All right. So do this again. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, and then a few other things. I'll put them in the chat. If you would like to complete a survey about today, or if you'd like to sign up for the Memory and Brain Center's newsletter or the Memory Hub's newsletter, I'll put that information in the chat. I'll also put my contact information in the chat.
Thank you so much, Katie. This was absolutely wonderful and so informative. Please feel free to share the slides if you're able to, that feedback survey link, and I'll make sure that those get sent out to all attendees so that everyone has those fantastic resources that you shared. And I'm just so grateful for your time in the Memory and Brain Wellness Center. So also, please feel free to let the PSO know how we can continue to support and amplify your work throughout the year. We don't want to just have this be like a one-time session for folks. We want to be engaged with you all as much as possible. So I just am so grateful for your work and your time today, and everyone else for attending. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for your time. I appreciate it.
And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.